Hello, I'm Caroline, Spiritual Dog Trainer, and I am here to tell you today my wonderful 1111 story, which is more of an 11-11-11 story with triple 11s. And just sort of share this with you because I really believe that so many of us have these 11-11 stories, or if not other numbers, it might be other numbers for you. Numbers are an integral part of the human race, of all of nature. You've heard of the Fibonacci spiral, you've heard of the golden mean. Numbers are integral to our growth. They are also measurements of frequencies, and our emotions are measurable as frequencies. So of course they have a string of numbers as well. So now my job is to work with dog owners to assist them, or should I say my purpose really, which is all part of the 11-11 story, to assist them to see behaviours from an energetic or spiritual point of view. And very often, if not always, it is that point, that way of looking at things that makes the shifts, that makes the transformations in the dog's behaviour. And it's often the missing link. It's the one aspect that they hadn't considered, and yet when you bring that into the picture, it's like the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle. And sometimes you find that the jigsaw puzzle actually melts away, that the behaviour was in fact a story in the reality of the human friend or the owner. So sometimes that's the case as well. Now, in terms of numbers, I don't know if you guys have had this. Please tell me if you have underneath in the comments. If you and your dog have experienced repetitive numbers, I'm sure you have, and many people call them angel numbers. Now, numbers are a set of frequencies, so they will have a kind of energetic meaning to us, but also we have to remember as well that very often if we focus on something, it stays within our aura, and then we will keep seeing it repeated until we let it go, until we stop looking at it. So sometimes repetition of things we see, whether it's numbers, whether it's a place, whether it's a type of car, whatever it might be, that is just because it's in your aura and you're focusing on it, so you're feeding it with frequency and you're keeping it there. But numbers, as I said at the beginning of the video, are integral to really our evolvement on planet Earth. They are part of us. And as I said as well, emotions can be measured, and emotions really make everything up. Energy is emotion. Emotion is energy. It's energy in motion. That's all emotion is. So really consider the numbers in your life. You know, what do they mean for you? And maybe how could you be looking at them in a different way as well? My Christmas gift this year is in fact going to be, which I've created half of it at the moment, going to be a gift to understand your dog's numerology numbers. So you may already know your life path. You'll be able to obviously work out your dog's life path, but also the number that I'm calling your Pausanial development number. I've channeled this through the Sacred Canine Heart, and I'm going to bring it to you as part of a Christmas gift. So you can see really the number and the meaning behind your dog's purpose with you as a soul. But back to 1111. So I have now been in this place that I created living in, North Cyprus, Turkish North Cyprus, for almost 4 years. In fact, no, it's been 4 years because it was 4 years on the 11th of November, the one we just had. And I moved here on an 11 a.m. flight. Now, I didn't choose my flight because I was bringing my dog. At the time, Monarch Airlines was going in the UK and she was flying with them. So I gave them all the details and they came back to me. I knew the month, I knew I was going to leave in November, but I didn't know the date and I didn't know the time. So they gave me the 11 a.m. flight on the 11th of the 11th. So as soon as I saw this, because I've been on my spiritual journey for quite a while, I knew that there was magic. Something was drawing me there above all places for some reason. And, you know, I didn't specifically know why. However, now I've been here for as long as I have, I know why. And I also know why it is that I'm being drawn back to the UK as well. So I wanted to bring you this lovely sunset as well, because for the last 6 months I've lived at this address, and it was these 2 palm trees as an 11 that really pushed me into moving here. I walked up the drive, I turned around, I saw this, and they were didn't have as many leaves as they've got now, so they weren't as they kind of ended about here. And I just saw this as an 11, and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be there. That's where I'm supposed to be in the last sort of 6 months or so that I live over here. And I've been on an incredible journey here that has connected me with galactic guides. It's allowed me, these ascension, expansion opportunities have allowed me to really put a name to the energies I was bringing through. I speak light language now. And this sacred canine heart that I've been able to connect with and name and understand so much more, because I could never do animal communication in the same way as other people. So if you're someone who feels like they kind of get animal communication but not in the same way as others, what I found is that I could get collective messages. They were very broad. They weren't in a psychic way, knowing the colour of the pet's front door or the colour of the pet's collar or anything like that. They were much broader than that, and they usually were messages for humanity. And I now know it was because I was collecting information from the whole consciousness of dogs rather than one specific dog. And since I have channeled through the cards, which happened since I've lived here, Sacred Canine Heart cards, I use these as a divination tool, really, to bring through messages. And very often the breed or a dog who looks very similar to the lady or the guy asking me for the reading will come through. So you can then pull through individual dogs with these cards, but what I tend to find happens is with me anyway, it's collective consciousness of the whole species of dogs. Now, the other thing that's been amazing that's happened to me is the discovery of the galactic Q sites to energy portals, multidimensional. They could be called astral portals, they could be called. They have been channeled by a guy called Christoph, and you can Google information about him. And these are really the energetic centre points of planet Earth. And one of them, the very first one, in fact, of the 12, is behind me, kind of in between those two trees. Okay? So I didn't realise this when I moved here, how specific everything was. But I'm totally supposed to be here. I'm totally supposed to be in this property. The number of the property is 131, and I'm life path 3. So again, it's another 11 with me in the middle of it. So I just feel so blessed. And when you get in the flow, when you learn to get in the flow with life, this is what happens. And this is what Canine Flow is about. It's about teaching you how to get in the flow so that this stuff happens to you. Not necessarily even because you've mentally thought that you would like it to. You just manifest amazing stuff, or you don't realise quite how amazing it is until it's right in front of you. It's put in front of you, and you're like, whoa, okay, so that's why this has happened. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's a great state of being to be in to clear and transform canine behaviours that are worrying you, that are troubling you, that are part of your reality. And it works as well. So this Q-Site portal, this particular one, which is, as I said, one of 12 that are across planet Earth, this Q-Site leads to the South Pole. So it's like an energy portal, if you like, for what happens at the South Pole. It's linked up with the South Pole. Now, there are other energy Q-Sites around the planet that are linked with the South Pole as well. I think there's a couple of others in Christoph's list. But this one is obviously the first one, and I was amazed when I found this, because I really thought, when I heard him discussing the fact it was in Cyprus, I thought, it's not going to be in the north, it's bound to be in the south of Cyprus, which is obviously EU, Greek Cyprus. And I thought, okay, let's see where it is. So I really researched these coordinates, because at the time, Google Maps hadn't covered all of North Cyprus. We were a relatively unknown country, really, in the grand scheme of the world. And I couldn't find the villages that were mentioned. But in the end, give it time, and the mapping got better, and I was able to find the area. And I actually ended up going to the actual Q site now, or very close to it, as close as I could get, for two reasons. One was because it was incredibly hot. It was very, very hot. I mean, it's hot here in May anyway, but it was extra hot at this place. It was like, I took my shoes off to put my feet on the ground to feel the energies, and it was like, whoa, I can't do that, you know. It was like in the cartoons when the foot's sizzling, you know, it was just like a no-no. I wasn't supposed to do that. But also, because whether this is a conspiracy thing or whether it's just that that's the way it is, there were military presence there. So around it, there's a lot of the Turkish army. Now, whether that's just because it's an area that's undeveloped and so they're using it as their base, or whether it's because it has relevance, that's up to you to subjectively decide. But anyway, I couldn't get too close to it because of the military presence and the heat as well. So yeah, quite cool that this is here. And I have a cat who, she just as I talk about the portal, comes to sit underneath my legs. Now, when I moved here, I was on my spiritual journey, but I wasn't in this way of understanding how galactically connected we are and how really it's important for us to honour that and bring down these light codes to planet Earth to make a difference in humanity. Really, that's what we're here to do. We're here to grow ourselves, be the light ourselves, so that we can change all of humanity, really. And it's not so much really even wake us up. It's about bring through the joy, bring through the happiness. Let's change the way we're doing things on planet Earth. There's a lot of spiritual people that are not embodying the learnings, the teachings on planet Earth. So it is about embodying it, bring it down, actually using it. Be, you know, in your daily day, using the energies and absorbing them, taking them in, taking time to connect to them and bringing that through into your day. So that helps with dog behaviour as well. But I just want to share with you that this might sound like out there, but it certainly would have to me a year ago, or maybe a couple of years ago, before this had all happened. And the first time I heard somebody speaking light language, I had an overwhelming expression of tears and crying and a massive release. And it was just this very, very strong, well, where have you been? Where have I been? Where on earth have I been? It was just so overwhelmingly strong, that feeling that I'd been somewhere else and that finally I'd reconnected. And I was like, my goodness, where have you been? 40 years and you haven't been in this place. You haven't been in this state. It was just like, whoa. I guess you want to say the word coming home. It kind of was a bit like that, but it was like, whoa. This is it. This is amazing. I can't believe it. Galactic stuff does exist. It's not just a conspiracy. You know, you can connect to other star systems, other star seeds. They are out there. Well, okay. So it wasn't long after that I started channeling about this Q site. And then happened to hear the interview, or created hearing the interview maybe, with Christoph leading off the points on the Earth that these 12 major galactic portals were in. And why I bring the cat into it is because she's really trying to be part of this, even though the camera angle isn't on her. Every time I woke up having channeled one of these information sets about the portal, or about galactic guides that are involved with North Cyprus, because this is the last divided capital in the world. So there's a lot of stuff going on up there, and it's reflected down here as well. This is a big haven for activity here, galactically, because of what's going on down here. And every time I did this, I would wake up and my cat would be like here, like a limpet on my head. She's terrific, and she would just be there. And now every time I talk about this story or this level of understanding that I've reached, she comes around me. She comes around my feet, or she tries to make her presence known, which I think your animals will do too. Your dog, your cat, they have a much deeper knowing and a much deeper connection to the multi-dimensional world. You know, whether we want to call it 5D or any other D, they have this connection to it. They're in that place of all potential, all possibilities, and they're showing us when we're not, especially in their behaviour. The dog will show you when you're not living your purpose. The dog will show you when you're not living at your truth, when you're not living in love, when you have heart walls, with all different types of behaviours. You know, like separation anxiety, for instance, is usually linked to the dog cannot get at your heart through some kind of heart wall when you are there. So when you are there, they spend all this time trying to connect with you, trying to ground emotionally on you, and they're unable to. So when you leave, it's like, whoa, they've got all this stuff and nowhere to put it at all, nowhere to even try to put it. Because a dog is always trying to give you their emotional energy, always trying to connect with your emotional energy. So yes, my 11-11-11 story. I just feel so blessed that I've even got the story, that that this has even happened to me in the journey that I've been on living in North Cyprus. I am going back to England in February time. Does depend on a few things, so I haven't got a set date yet, but I do hope to be there in time to go to Crufts, have a look round. Not really at the showing, doesn't interest me. It's all the lovely people that are there selling all the natural dog care products, because there's tons of natural dog care products. Because of course, the more we connect with our inner selves, the more we connect with our truth, the more we really connect with nature, which brings us back to the numbers, the more we want to bring nature out to the world, the more we cannot believe where we've been and that we are now in this new area where we can see the world differently, and we want to take that as a purpose through. And it's amazing that so many people are doing it with their dog products, or dog products as I call them. So yeah, do comment if you've had 11-11 stories, if you've had 8-8 stories. That's another really amazing time. Lionsgate, which I've of course learnt lots about in the couple of years that I've been connected galactically. And if you want to know any more information about where your dog might be from, I do have an ebook actually, and it's free. It's called Your Multi-Dimensional Dog, or it might be called Soul Dog, Find Your Multi-Dimensional Dog. But anyway, it's available from my website. If you sign up for the free meditation, you also get the multi-dimensional dog book as well. And it explains how to understand your dog's behaviour from that point of view, and also to see whether your dog is from another star system, because a lot of dogs have come down here to assist us to grow and change. As humanity is growing, we need that magnetic heart. They do have the biggest heart per body mass of any animal, so they will reflect your proper true subconscious stuff that's getting in the way. Everyday life and your stories are reflections to what's happening to you, but they don't go as deep as the dog, because the dog has that biggest heart per body mass and they're with you far, far more. They will bring up the things that you don't want to look at, that you're not ready really to get rid of. The dog will come and say, it's okay, I will support you with the PAW through this. And this is what they do. They're here for us. They're here to nourish us emotionally. So, Foos is just giving a little grumble, agreeing with that one. Don't know if you heard that. So as the sun goes down here in North Cyprus, I thank you for watching this video, and I'm excited for the next chapter. I really am excited for the next chapter. As I said, I haven't bought my exact flight yet, so I don't know if it's going to be something like February the 22nd, which would be a bit random. If it does end up being February the 22nd, again, I won't be making the choice specifically, because I have to take my dog and now my cat back, who arrived actually on... she's another number story, just quickly, very briefly, because I've kept you long enough, I think. It's she arrived at 9 minutes past 11. So, yeah, so on my phone, when she arrived, I took a picture, as you do, because a cat arrived at my door. I was like, oh, there's a cat at my door. She's very sweet. First thing you do if you love animals, grab your phone. So took a picture of her. And yeah, on my phone, I think it's something like 11, so it must have been, because it was November, so it was the 9th of November. But she turned up, and so the date is the same. So it's either 9/11/11/9 or it's 11/9/9/11. My brain won't work it out now. Too far in the right hand side. But anyway, she also arrived on a really cool number, which I find fascinating as well. So, going to step out and let you see some more of this amazing sunset. It's so beautiful. Don't know whether you can hear, but the call to prayer's just started as well. So it's perfect time to end the video. I found it unusual to hear at first when I first moved here, but it actually sends me into quite a peaceful state now, after all these years of hearing it. Okay, thank you so much for listening, and yeah, do tell me about your number stories.